Yeah, and welcome to another video. I'm Brett Papa, and we got the one, the only Jack Ruch in the house, all coffeeed up and ready to go.
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
So this is going to be a cool lesson. One of the things that we just filmed a course together. Link's going to be down below. Awesome course. Not your typical course. This one's called The Player's Perspective, where it's getting kind of inside the mind of Jack. And what we did is picked 3 things that he's asked a lot. And that's about secondary dominance, borrowing chords, and 2-5-1s.
Yeah. It's basically all about just understanding chords and understanding harmony and chord progressions. We kind of start off with a rundown of basic diatonic harmony, and then start introducing borrowed chords from the minor key, secondary dominance, and then 2-5-1s to kind of take simple chord progressions and flesh them out into a little bit more sophisticated kind of hip things.
Yeah. Well, and what I really appreciate about it is, you know, if you hear that and you're not familiar with what that is, you may be like, oh God, it's a theory intensive course. It's not at all. And you're going to recognize every single thing that he does here. It's something that you hear in every genre of music, but like there's nothing that he's going to do here that you haven't heard. And once you understand what he's presenting, if you're creative at all, it's like the ultimate like songwriting tool, and there's just so many things you can do with it. And Jack doesn't just play lead, he also plays cool rhythm stuff in here as well. He's a great rhythm guitar player as well. As all, all you lead cats usually are.
Yeah, I'm all right. The whole idea with understanding the basic theory behind this stuff is it just takes out the mystery.
Yeah.
Whether you're writing chord progressions or just learning tunes, you don't have to kind of guess of like, oh, well, what is that? What do I do over that? Just gives you kind of a name for what something is, and then a clear understanding of why that exists and what you can do with it.
Yeah. Well, okay, so this particular instance is more of the borrowing chords.
Yeah, so sort of in the beginning of the course, we just talk about basic diatonic harmony, which is understanding all the chords that fit within a certain key. So like if we're playing in the key of G major, it would be all those chords that are diatonic to the key of G major. And once you understand that, Then you can start to understand chords that don't fit within that. And that's where it gets pretty interesting, because when you're learning songs, sometimes, as a guitar player or a lead player, you kind of go, well, what do I do over these chords? If you're just playing by ear and kind of guessing, it can be a little bit confusing. But with the borrowed chords, we're basically borrowing chords from the minor key. So if we're playing in G major, we're going to borrow chords from G minor.
Okay,
and kind of break down how to do all that.
Yeah, give them an example. So the chord progression is.
So the chord progression we were just playing is G major to A minor to C major, which is all right in the key of G major. That would be, the major 1 chord, the minor 2 chord, up to the major 4 chord.
Okay, so if they're going to play over that progression, I'll play it a little bit, but what are you going to solo out of? And
well, basically, yeah, all those chords come from the G major scale. So you can use that over all that to solo.
Okay.
Because every note in those chords is from that scale. So you can play your G major pentatonic, you can play your G major scale. Obviously, you can play like chord tones to the triads of those 3 chords, but it's all still right within G major.
Well, and that's the other thing that this course specifically I really appreciate is when you play, it's never like you're playing a scale or an arpeggio. It's very melodic. And I think that's one of the things that people can learn the most with a course like this is how to take all of those things but not sound like it's a math exercise, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, well they're all like different tools. All of those things, even those 3 things I mentioned, the major pentatonic, the major scale, and the chord tones.
Okay.
They're all like different tools you can pull out. It's almost like different colors of paint you can use to paint a picture. So, and there's a different time and place to use each one. And it's really just a matter of taste. But yeah, I mean, if I'm playing something and I want to outline the chords, I may really try to focus in on the chord tone. So I might play, over G, then to A minor, something like that, or right, simple things like that where, I mean, I'm literally seeing these chord shapes and trying to target them. But then within that, I can play lines that
Sure, I'll play the
scale, right?
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that's super cool is all the little inflections that you do and like the little half-step walk-ins and.
Yeah. Well, and that's just trying to make these simple melodies sound a little bit more exciting. I mean, it's the same kind of. All that for me comes from listening to blues players and also singers. But you hear blues guitar players do that kind of stuff. All those little nuanced little flourishes and embellishments. Mm-hmm. That's just, cool guitar stuff that, happens in so much guitar music, rock players, blues players. So you can take that kind of same touch and those little embellishments and add them to anything that you're playing.
So the second part of the tune borrows chords from G minor?
Yeah, so then we go to B flat to F and then up to G major. So we're still playing a G major. We're still kind of living in that world of G major, but we're just borrowing 2 chords from G minor, right? And so what's cool about that is as a player, when I'm hearing those chords and I'm thinking of, well, what do I do over that? If I understand that these chords come from G minor, and that's something we kind of break down in the course in detail, then all I have to do is switch what I'm playing melodically to a G minor sound. And you can see it right within the chords. If I play this B flat chord, it's like, it's a G minor 7, the minor third is right there. And, so you can really see it. So as you go to that chord, just by,
Right.
really laying into those notes that change. And that's a big sort of emphasis of the course, is like understanding what's happening in the harmony of chords in a chord progression, and then just targeting those key notes that change in your soloing so that you can, navigate through chord progressions and sound, in command of what you're doing. Without it being too complicated, because it's really not.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that's really great about the course and what you do is none of it is technically crazy. You know what I mean? It's all slow and melodic.
Well, yeah.
And which is almost harder sometimes because the less you play, the more you almost have to put the feel into the note, but you show all that kind of stuff as well. And it's really focused on melody. And I think that's the biggest thing once you get to that, out of that beginner stage, is how do I sound more like seasoned, with vibrato and bending and all the chromaticisms and there's little inflections you can do. But then obviously the most important thing is, how do I sound like I know what I'm doing over chords?
Well, yeah. And something I tell a lot of students and people that have taught and stuff is that once you get the basic fundamental thing of targeting the note that you want to hit over the chord when the chord change happens, and you can dial that in rhythmically where you're phrasing right into the chord change. You're not like reacting to the chord change, but the chord change is coming and you sense it coming and you play the note that you want to hit over that chord with intent. Once you get that together, and you kind of get that aligned, it's so much easier then to elaborate on it and build on it. So if you want to play faster and more technical things, you can easily, whatever kind of, technical ability you have. But getting that thing lined up, like just targeting a key chord tone as the chord change happens, is super important.
And I find that, a lot of some of my favorite players don't necessarily shred. I think, as you start, especially if you're young, the natural inclination is like, I gotta play faster, you know what I mean? And you've just got that like hormones rushing through your veins where you gotta like something to prove. But when I think back, even at my childhood, even when I was really into shred, like players like David Gilmour, the guitar player, and Bryan Adams, and all these just people that don't really, their note choice was just impeccable, and it compensated. And the guy from Bryan Adams is a great ripping guitar player, but never overplays. It's all to the song, I guess is my point. Mm-hmm. You never felt like they were just throwing stuff in there because they could. Whereas I think some of the other rock that I listened to, it started to become like, a track and field event.
Yeah. Well, it's like they're all just different tools. There's a time and a place to play really fast. And sometimes it can be incredibly effective, and sometimes not. Sometimes it's maybe not the right decision in that moment. There's no right or wrong way, really.
Yep.
But even guys that we love that play fast, still play with intent and still play, melodic.
They're melodic, like a Guthrie or any of the guys in town that just burn. It never sounds like an exercise. It's like, it never sounds like they're running scales. It's
and certainly if you listen to, any jazz guys, it's like,
That's a whole other world.
They're all burning. Listen to Pat Martino or George Benson or something. It's like lightning speed, but it's super melodic and it's, beautiful.
And with those guys specifically, their slow playing is just as good. You can tell it started from really developing the sense of melody. And I think that's with this course and what you're doing just as a whole, whether it's Patreon or any of that stuff you're doing, it's very melody based. And I think for me, that was the biggest appeal of having you come in is it's like, no, this is where it should technically start for everyone. It's all about the melody. It's all about seeing how to use chord tones. It's all about how to use your scales and arpeggios in a melodic way. And I think you did that really, really, really good. Oh, plus it answered so many questions. We've gone over, it's like, oh, that's okay. Now I know why that chord progression works and what to do over it. Yeah. Well, all the topics that I chose to cover in the course were all things that throughout my life were big, light bulb moments. Just learning a concept like these are all the chords that are diatonic to one key was like answered so many questions that I had and just sort of, shed light on a lot of things that were just sort of a mystery that I was just sort of, grasping in the dark to kind of find. So, understanding chords it's all related. Chords, there's really no difference between playing a melody and playing chords, playing a solo and playing rhythm. It's all interwoven together. All right, so the course is on sale, a massive discount, 40% off until Monday the 10th at midnight Central Time. So check out the course. We're gonna leave it in the description box below. Also gonna leave Jack's YouTube down there. He's got a great YouTube channel. I can't express enough how cool, even my guy who does my audio for me, he's like, man, this course is so, and he's a burning guitar player. Like, could be one of the guys in town, but he's like, man, this is just such useful information. And it really is. It has answered a lot of questions in my own playing. And as Jack was making this course, after he left, it was like stuff that's you can immediately apply. And it was really cool in the sense, because I'm kind of a creative type of person. And once I get inspired, it's nice to have tools to get out of a rut. Like the diatonic, borrowing the chords, that was like, oh, that's amazing. And then the 2-5-1s and all the ways to just, change up the typical thing we're used to doing. But also those tools, it's like, oh, it's a familiar sound. So it's not like leaping off into nowhere. It's like, you're gonna recognize everything that he's done, but it's just like, oh, that's how they do it. And you're gonna recognize it in the Beatles, or whether it's Ray Charles or R&B or blues. It's all going to be something that you've heard before. And then after you learn what it takes to, play over that stuff, it'll be in your own bag. Yeah, totally. Well, thank you so much for your continued support. Check out the link down below. Again, it's on sale till Monday night, the 10th at midnight Central Time. And if you're a little late to the party, we'll hook you up. Thank you so much. We'll catch you next time.